So I want to go back to talking about your friendship with Ananda, just because I was so struck by so many elements of that story. Your combined friendship with her and Sarah. On Hot and Bothered, there's an overarching theme that comes from a lot of my episodes, and it's about the bonds that we form as friends, as women, and our friendships, and how sometimes they are the closest bonds to us. I mean, husbands be damned. I'm sorry, but statistically, we're gonna outlive you, so we gotta, keep our circle tight. You know what I mean?
Well, and also I just think there's a lot of things that like best friends know that maybe
the husbands will never know.
Yeah, or the sisters and brothers don't know. Just there's a special space for the best friends.
Yeah. We are at that age, unfortunately, where not only are we becoming our parents' caretakers or losing our parents, we're now losing our friends, which is crazy.
Yeah, I don't like this part.
I hate this part. It's shocking because, I mean, for myself, I still remember being 5. I still remember being 9. I still remember being a teenager.
Totally.
Viscerally, I still have these feelings and these memories. And so to look around and realize that I'm a year and a month away from my 50th birthday, I'm like, wait, what? And then I have friends who have ailing health, and I'm like, wait, what? We were just like, drinking Mad Dog 2020.
That was a very specific reference. I feel like you actually did drink Mad Dog 2020. That was a very specific reference.
Everclear, just kind of doing.
You didn't say rum. You said Mad Dog.
I feel like everybody over the age of 45 had a Mad Dog moment in their lives. Everclear, something, Bacardi 151, something that would make, fire shoot out your butt.
Yeah.
Something like that. But just to kind of like look at our friendships and just have to acknowledge, I guess, our sense of fragility, that we're mortal, and at some point we're all going to be called back home. And just to watch the interview with you and Sarah and Ananda, those 38 minutes just really gave you such a snapshot, a visceral take into like what your relationship was like with the two of them. So what was it like watching Sarah go balls to the wall? Wait, what did my doctor say? Oh, I got to get these suckers taken off? No problem. Radiation, give me all the stuff. And then Ananda was like, yeah, nope, not going to do that. I'm going to rock out with my tumor, and I'm going to try to do it the holistic manner and whatever. What was like for you, being their friend and being the observer, watching them go diverging in opposite directions for the treatment of the exact same form of the disease?
It was on brand for both of them, and frustrating AF, because you want to help your people as best you can, and you can't help either of them. How do you really help somebody? Like, first of all, Sarah was in New York. Ananda was here. How do you really help them when they have to do this themselves? Yeah. Like, they are the ones who have to go through this. So you feel kind of like a floppy disk. It's like, yeah, at one point you're really helpful, but now it's just like you don't really need to be there right now. Floppy disk was the most random thing to come out my mouth.
We have to give context to our younger audience.
I know, that was so sorry. Random. Every now and then I age myself to like the nth degree. Floppy disk.
I know what that means, but sorry, under 35.
Sorry. I can't even talk. That was random. Like, I don't even know where it came from.
Google a picture of it.
I don't even own one anymore. I've purged. That was pathetically old. But yeah, but like you feel helpless in the moment.
Yeah.
Also because for a lot of it, Ananda was doing really well, and I would see her, she'd be normal. Like you heard me say in the podcast that we did for CNN, it's just, she was so diligent. When she made up her mind she was going to do something, she'd do it.
Yeah, so and the note-taking was copious notes about everything.
Bringing her bag of food when we did family gatherings and doing things with our kids together. It was like, if someone is going to follow the program, it was Ananda, right? So that's why part of me was like, okay, if you're going to do this, because can I tell you who would not have I would not have ever been able to like, and now I can only eat this at this time of day, plus 3 of these and 4 of those, and fail.
Yeah.
I know me.
I understand.
Run me to chemotherapy and radiation, right? Like I know what I would have had to do and I know what I would have done, right? But you've got to love your friends where they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am not living her life. She's not living mine. We had very different approaches to things in some little windows, but we didn't let it get into the way of how we loved each other and how we showed up for each other. That always remained. And yeah, did I want her to go and get traditional treatment? Heck yeah, I did.
Yeah.
But it wasn't my call. And I've seen some people pushing back on this idea that she was at peace with it. She was at peace with her decision. She did not regret her decision.
Okay.
And people want that to not be true. But I dare say, find your way to that time in your life when you know that you're approaching death and see what you feel. But I can tell you, she knew that this could be an option. We talked about it. She was okay with it. I would not have been, but that's her journey.
There were so many things about that interview that were just so poignant. First of all, how openly you all talked about mortality. It's more so you and Ananda. How openly you talked about your own sense of mortality and how you expressed that you don't shy away from conversations about death, which I think I
think
love.
about death every day. I think
Thank you.
about
I love this
I
about
think about my death every day. What do people have to do when I die?
Yeah.
What are they going to have to get in order? Do I have a trust? Do I have my child protected? I am divorced. I need to make sure my child is fine. He is a good man. He's a great dad. But I want to make sure from my side of her lineage that Simone is protected, right? It's not about him. It's about what I need to do as a mom. So I think about my death literally, and I know people think I'm exaggerating. I am not. I am not.
I believe you.
Every day, but it's also probably because of my job.
Yeah.
I think about it every day, but it does not stop me.
It probably makes you more joyful.
Maybe.
Because
I'm a pretty optimistic person.
Yeah, but you can't enjoy the euphoric highs of life without having experienced the abysmal lows.
It's true.
You know, that's just the way that life is. And so that was a very poignant moment for me, just because I really want to normalize conversations around death and mortality for the exact same reasons that you do. Because first of all, we're on borrowed time. There's that. And two, if you have families, you want to tie up the business of death so that they are left to just mourn you and not have to worry about probate and estate and all this other stuff
Absolutely
that gets
not.
in the way.
That's my failure if I were to allow that happen.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. I just finished listening to this book called The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. Oh my gosh, I loved that book.
I'm literally about to get that on Audible right now.
It's a very quick book. It's like 2.5 hours long, and I love it. But like, think about, and obviously I just went through this a bit because I helped partially of wrapping up the end of Ananda's, where she was living, her home, and taking everything out and getting rid of it and all of that. Somebody has to do that.
Yeah. I have a friend doing that right now for Diane Martel, the amazing filmmaker and video director who just passed away from breast cancer at the age of 63. One of her best friends is one of my best friends, and she has to go through the whole business of death. And it's gut-wrenching. It's really gut-wrenching. So that's a whole other arm of conversation that you and I can talk about endlessly. But another powerful exchange between Ananda and Sarah was the discussion about pain and their tolerance level for pain. And
they're both pretty mighty on that one.
Yeah, but it made me think about, did that strength come from within just because that's just how those two humans were made up? Or does part of it stem from like a deeper sense of conditioning of being Black women and always having to be strong, so we internalize that idea of strength, and maybe it helps to increase that sense of tolerance. I would like to know what it feels like to be like a lily white girl and just be fragile and everybody just want to do everything for me.
That is really interesting because you're swirl.
I am, but the way that
your whole life though, you knew that you were Black, not white. How does that work? Because
does
it's
that
interesting
work?
to me to hear you say that because you're Swirl.
Because,
Which is a friend of,
Yeah.
just to clarify, a very close friend of mine. He is biracial and he always describes himself as Swirl. So I've adopted that word. So just so you know that it came from a biracial friend of mine.
Yeah.
So
No.
he's always like, I'm Swirl.
Yeah.
So I say it because I actually think it's a very loving word.
we do say that.
Yes.
In reference to ourselves. And I feel more like my identity lends more towards Black, having lived in America.
Okay.
When I lived in Canada, I wasn't forced to have to define myself in any way, shape, or form. Being biracial was the identity.
Got it.
Because it's just it's liberal out there. There's just so many of us, and it's just, I don't know. It wasn't until I came to the States that there was just like this, a line had to be drawn in the sand as to which identity I more associated myself with. And so I just, in reference, I'm a Black woman. That's just, it just makes it easier to get to the point of the conversation.
Yeah.
That
and
I'm
it's also,
trying to have.
and it's also how you feel, how you identify.
Yeah.
I think for both of these women, it's who they are. They're just strong people. But how they got there, did life knock some curves in their life that made them get stronger? Yeah, I'm going to say for both of them, there are chances that could happen. But that would be a good question. Obviously we can't ask Nanda anymore, but it's a good question to ask Sarah. I've never asked that question. I've never thought about it. I just know that they are some of the most gentle humans I know, but also some of the fiercest.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them magical.
Yeah.
Back to our other word.
Yeah. So you've had, Ananda was one of your best friends. So you had a lot of, profound conversations with her. And she was confronted with the same diagnosis and treatment option that Sarah was, which was double mastectomy. Sarah said, you take these suckers right now.
She did.
Ananda did not make that decision.
Nope.
Let me ask you this, and forgive me ahead of time because I don't know how this is going to sound. I just have to ask because I think that as a woman, a lot of our identity is ensconced in our physicality, our identity of being a woman and womanhood, being ensconced in our reproductive system and also our breasts. Do you feel like one of the reasons why she chose not to get the double mastectomy might have had something to do with that loss of a sense of womanhood and identity and maybe a little bit of vanity? Because she was
I think it's possible.
Yeah.
I don't actually know the answer to that question. I know it's possible. I know she took issue with the idea of poisoning herself.
Okay.
She really had an issue with the idea of poisoning herself. I would say, though, it's hard to not look at the process of going through chemotherapy, radiation, losing your hair, looking sallow as you make your way through this, all of the things, the path to reconstruction, there's some disfigurement that goes in there, the tumor, all of those things. To think that you wouldn't think about your appearance for anyone, I think would be shocking. So I'm sure that's part of it, but I never actually specifically asked her that question. Did I think about it? Yes. Did I ask it? No. And you want to know why?
Why?
It didn't matter. I was going to support her either way. And so I said, ultimately for me, it was something that I didn't need to know. Because sometimes when you're a friend and a journalist, you have to remind yourself to turn off your journalism hat and just be a friend.
Yeah.
And so I would consciously sometimes tell myself, just be here. That's it. And so I never specifically asked. I know that the one thing that she did talk about was the poisoning. She just really had a problem with the idea of putting poison in your body to kill off something inside it.
She was also extremely, she'd never had a mammogram before finding, doing the self-testing.
She would have changed that, though, at the end. She realized that she could have done better.
Yeah.
And then she was saying, she realized that radiation was her fear, and she realized how minimal that was compared to what she ended up having to do with it.
We put phones up to our brains every single day. The radiation from that
So she doesn't,
microwaves.
She doesn't do that.
Well, I'm
No,
sure.
this is my point.
Yeah.
This is how crazy she was about this, is that she would always use a cable because she didn't want to put the phone. So she, to her credit, she was consistent.
Okay.
She was consistent. But still, before she died, she did say, I should have done that. It would have been less amount than what I'm putting my body through now. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. She was so brave to come out and admit, like, hey, I could have done things differently here, and you guys go do this too, because it could save your life.
I did think that that was extraordinarily brave to just kind of serve herself up on a platter and what she was
Very
going
brave.
through and the missteps in judgment that in hindsight she felt like she had made trying to tell people, please go about it in a different way than I did. I thought that that was extraordinary, and what an incredible end to her legacy, honestly.
It is. And people still tell me, I got a mammogram because of that conversation.
Good.
I had been putting it off. I went back and I decided to go back. They had found something one time. It scared me. I went back and got the follow-up. People still tell Sarah that.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that Ananda and Sarah, by agreeing to have that conversation with me, saved lives. Because loved ones went to the people they love and said, hey, when's the last time you got a mammogram? They carried that message to other people and pollinated the idea in other people to go ahead and get your testing done. I'm so proud of them for that. And they could have just been like, Steph, no, I don't want to do that. Both of them immediately, yes.